Money never makes you rich. And so the thing is to invest in your life experiences, your mentors. If you're not willing to be the best that you can be, that's the best for you. You're an average person. Nothing wrong with being average. But there's something inside each of us that wants to be the best at something. If you're going to be successful, like whether you're an employee or entrepreneur, you've got to control the direction of your cash flow.
Need motivation?
What's the top 10 with the Believe Nation?
Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Gotta learn from the wise women and men. All my life, like 9 for my top 10. Top 10, 9. This one's for my top 10.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more. And you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Robert Kiyosaki, and my take on his top 10 rules for success. Enjoy. Okay, let's kick it off with rule number 1. Invest in what you love.
Number 1 is invest in what you love. I love business. I love real estate. I mean, I really love it. I own this building here. And I love gold and silver. So I invest in what I love. Mm-hmm. Most people say, do what you love, but I rather invest in what I love. But I love being an entrepreneur. I love investing. It's like Shark Tank to me. I'm always looking at new businesses, new deals. It's just a game like this. Mm-hmm. When you look at the financial statement, that's like your scorecard. It's like your golf scorecard is your financial statement. But as you know, our schools teach us nothing about financial statements.
Rule number 2, choose your mentor wisely.
That's why, most guys, most major league athletes are broke within 6 years or something. They lose everything.
Sure, or a lottery winner.
Yeah, because money never makes you rich. And so the thing is to invest in your life experiences, your mentors. So the story of Rich Dad, Poor Dad is choosing between 2 different teachers. Mm. If I followed my poor dad, I'd probably be a government employee in Hawaii, or a tenured teacher.
Yeah.
So it's a hard choice. You got to choose your teachers wisely.
Rule number 3, be the best.
And so I was talking to this one guy, he says, well, I have a private pilot's license. And then, those guys, it's called the Big Dog. He was like, Big Dog in me. I got a private pilot license. I leaned over and I said, I don't even have a license, but I have air medals. He didn't know what an air medal was. An air medal just meant how many round trips did you take into combat and came back alive. I said, that's all it means. It doesn't mean I was a hero or anything, because I wasn't. We're just happy to bring my crew back alive. That's all we cared about. But to get to that level of flying is the same as investing. And I think that's what I really learned, is the dedication, not to be the best pilot, but be the best that I could be. And if I'm not the best that I can be, people die. And a lot of people, it's okay to be average, if you know what I mean. But when you get into that situation, when you're going in and out of combat zones, I went down 3 times, but I wouldn't be back today if I hadn't practiced to be the best. And so when I go into the world of money and investing, I'm still not, I'm not Zuckerberg or those guys, but you still have to be the best you can be. And that's how I can beat, investing in the stock market with diversified stock, with stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. If you're not willing to be the best that you can be, that's the best for you. You're an average person. Nothing wrong with being average. But there's something inside each of us that wants to be the best at something. And when I was reading your background, I think that's what you're pushing people, or asking people, what do you want to be the best at? And I just love the Marine Corps. I hated it when I was in it. I tell you what, they're not polite. But they demanded the best out of you. So today I carry those traits. I went to military school, and then I went to 5 years of Marine Corps and flying and all this. So when I hang out with my friends also want to be the best. And so in some of my books and things, I said, look at the 5 people you spend time with. If they're not striving to be the best, that's who you are too.
Rule number 4, get good debt.
A big lesson for you is that it's nothing to do with the house, the car, the student loan. It has to do with where's the cash flowing. If the cash is flowing into your income statement, into your pocket, it's an asset. It's good debt. But if it's taking money from your pocket, it's bad debt. About debt, there's good debt and bad debt. If you're going to be successful, like whether you're an employee or entrepreneur, you've got to control the direction of your cash flow. First property there, it was in Maui, Hawaii in the 1970s. I bought it with a credit card.
Wow.
Property was $18,000, my first, but I've taken several real estate classes. And so I knew what to look for. I found this one property. It took a long time. When I found it, I just broke out my credit card and bought it, and it put $25 in my pocket.
Also, if you want to have more self-confidence and self-belief, I've created a special free program called 254 because the science says that it takes up to 254 days of consecutive action to build a habit. So what I'm going to do is send you an unlisted video to your email every day for 254 days for free to help your confidence and self-belief shift forward. The link to join is in the description below.
I don't cheat on my wife. I don't cheat on my customers. I don't cheat people. I don't cut corners. If I can't do something, I'll tell you up front. If I screw up, I'll tell you. People always kind of dump on, fast food industry. If I had to do it again, I'd go work for McDonald's. Look, I have an unfair advantage, I went to war. And at war, I'm alive because other guys died for me.
Rule number 5, yearn to learn.
I took, 3 companies public through Toronto. Through VC, Vancouver Stock Exchange, and I had to migrate to the Toronto Stock Exchange. Why did I do that? To learn how to raise capital on public markets. Now, the average entrepreneur never does that. They keep opening their pizza shop, and they open 2 pizza shops, and that's about it, because they're in it just for the money. I wanted to learn something, so I took my first was an oil company in Portugal, and I took that public, and everybody told me there's no oil in Portugal, and I found out the hard way. They're right. There's no oil there. That company crashed and burned like a airplane coming out of the sky, And then the next thing I started a silver company in Argentina, and we struck silver, and we did very well.
Yeah.
And then I started a gold company in China, and the Chinese took it. So
Jesus.
Those are priceless experience. Aren't you bitter? I go, yeah, but that's what I did it for. You understand that? I did it for that.
Rule number 6, invest in passive income.
The tax department, which every country has taxes, they want to know what kind of income do you work for. So when you say to someone your age or a child to the parent to the child, they say, let's go to school, get a job. They're working for this type of income. Earned income, as you can see from this diagram here, this is earned income here. And the first thing you pay is the highest taxes because you worked for money.
Yes.
The government doesn't want you working for money. Yeah. They punish you for that. They want you to hire employees or invest. Okay, so earned income is what they work for. The second is portfolio income. It's also called capital gains. So if I buy a house for, let's say, $100,000, I sell it for $200,000, the $100,000 is capital gains. If I buy a stock for $10 and sell it for $20, the $10 is the capital gains. This is the second highest taxed. So the tax breaks that President Trump is working on today is primarily for these guys here. So they're doctors, lawyers, highly educated people, and they have stocks. Most of these guys don't have stocks of the working class. They have a 401k, but they don't get the break. But these guys, if you're active in stocks and that kind of stuff, or flipping houses, you get a break. But what the really rich work for is passive income. And passive income, for me, I have a business. Whether I work or not, money comes in. And you've seen me. I'm not here, am I?
No, never.
Never. I've earned the right not to be here. Real estate, I have every year, my wife and I, Kim, we add more real estate. Also, we have commodity income from oil wells and things like this. Even the stock price of oil doesn't go up and down and all this, we still get this. But this is another type of income. This here, I won't get into, is called phantom income. It's taxes I don't pay, so this is a little bit beyond most people's minds. But let's say my tax bill is $100,000. By doing what the government wants here, the government may give me a $50,000 tax break. That means $50,000 in taxes I don't have to pay.
Wow.
So the $50,000, it didn't go to the government, it went back up here. So that's what financial education does. It teaches you about the financial statement, which is not taught in school. Again, they teach you FICO scores, which is really FIDO scores.
Exactly.
What's your total, little doggy?
Exactly.
Okay. And then for you at your age now, you want to know this. This is what they're teaching you to work for now. Ironically, when you save money and you have a 401k, this is the kind of income. So savings and 401ks are taxed the highest types of income. To me, it's stupid, but if you don't know any better, it's the saving money in, what do you call that, 401ks is good. Okay. In Canada, it's called RRSP. In Australia, it's called the superannuation. But this is what most people have, because they went to school, they got a job. And then this is what the rich really have. It's passive, and it's because I'm an active investor. I don't buy this because this is passive investors. I am active, and I'm professional in all of these areas. So I work for passive income, which means I'm not here. The check comes in, the checks come in every year, and you've seen Kim and I, and your mother now, she's working on here. And so your mother's income keeps going up, your father's income keeps going up, and they don't have a job.
Rule number 7, find your soul.
That's what I was talking. You want to find your soul. Where is your soul? You know, what will sit up? You know, it's like each time I was going down, I wasn't flying for me. I was flying for my 2 young gunners, 19-year-old boys, really, with kids already. If I didn't do the best job possible taking that aircraft into the ocean, their kids were fatherless. And when I meet people who don't have it in life, they don't really have that soul in them. The soul is there, don't get me wrong. It's there, but you don't need it yet. So today we're in this, I think we're going into a major depression. I hate to say that, but are you prepared for it? I'm prepared for it. I wrote a book called Rich Dad's Prophecy, and I said the biggest stock market in history was coming in 2016. So the biggest crash in world history came in March 2020. We're going into a depression. Hope not. But I would say there's a 60% chance we're in a depression. Now, for somebody with a soul and a spirit, it's the greatest opportunity in history. The world's changing. I'm going to get out of this thing.
Rule number 8, control cash flow.
These are the 4 words: income, expense, asset, liability. And the last 2 words are the words cash flow. And that's why the game is called cash flow. And the secret to being rich is not a college education, but can you control cash flow? And this is what cash flowing looks like. So this here, I need this, income, expense, asset, liability. Again, this is, you get a job. And this was my poor dad, go to school, get a job, get your PhD. And so this here is cash flow. So the income comes in and it goes out this way. First line of expense is tax. So this is a poor person's cash flow pattern. It's not how much money you make. Most people, I don't care if you have a PhD or no school at all, but they can't control the cash flowing out through their expenses. And so that's why people like Susie Orman say, cut up your credit cards, live below your means, because you're a spendaholic. So that's a poor person. This is a middle class person's cash flow pattern. And this is where the house comes in. First thing, most kids do when they get pay raise or that, they buy themselves a bigger house. Oh, my house is an asset. Now, who tells you that? Your real estate agent, of course.
Yeah.
Right? Because they want to give you this false sense of security while you're getting screwed.
Exactly.
But when you look at what happens with a house, a personal residence, something I live in, the money comes in and goes out, and this is middle class, but it also goes out through a mortgage payments. Oh, but I don't have a mortgage. You still have taxes. You still... Hawaii just raised the property taxes on me, which is probably what I'm going to sell. I'm going to get out of Hawaii. But you have taxes and you have upkeep. So money's always flowing out. So that's why your house is not an asset, is because it's taking money from your pocket. So very simply said, assets put money in my pocket, liabilities take money from my pocket. And then this here is, so I'm not saying don't buy a house, but here is a house that I've got. And I started when I was 25, bought my first house, and it was an apartment, it was an investment property. I didn't live in it, I rented it out, and it put money in my pocket. So very simple, the definition of asset and liability is not the house or this, it's cash flow. Where is the cash flowing? So as a young person, and to all millennials, or if you're old, financial intelligence is the ability to control cash flow.
Rule number 9, stop saving money.
This is the difference between rich and poor. The people on this side are always trying to save money. It makes no sense to save money because after 1971, the United States took the dollar off the gold standard and the dollar became debt. So the people who are saving money are the biggest losers of all. The people who are the biggest winners are people who know how to use debt to get rich. See, debt is money. After 1971, when Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, money became debt. And so the people who are losers are savers. So as Kenny says, you put your money in the bank as a saver, Kenny goes in and borrows it out as a debtor, and we use that money to buy millions of dollars worth of real estate. So Kenny just went over $1 billion worth of real estate using debt. But most people say, well, I can't do that because I don't have any money. You don't have any money because lesson number 1 says the rich don't work for money. So we learn to use debt to create assets. And assets keep putting money in our pocket.
And rule number 10, the last one before a very special bonus clip, is be inspired by crisis.
What is your definition of greatness?
Getting up every day. At my age, you got to worry about that stuff. I said my plan was to die at 72. I almost died so many times. I went down 3 times in Vietnam, and my days were numbered from the start. I've had open heart surgery. I've had cancer. I've had pneumonia. I've had malaria. And so, when everybody talks about this COVID-19, I said, been there, done that one, But each one of it inspired me to get healthier. Mm. And so this crisis should inspire people to get wealthier, or you can be a loser. Mm-hmm. So I don't know where I'm going with that, but it's just everything bad is good. And everything good will be bad.
Now I've got a special bonus clip that I think you're going to enjoy. But before that, it's time for the question of the day. I want to know, what was your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week? When you watch a video and you just get motivated, the sign says you have a 35% chance of actually following through. That's not good enough, Believe Nation. We got to take action. But when you get motivated and then you create a specific plan of action for when and how you're going to do it, your number jumps from 35% to 91% chance of following through. And when you commit to somebody else, like posting down here in the comments below, that number jumps to 95%. I want to know your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week Put it down in the comments below so you can follow through and I can celebrate you.
You have to have skills. My father, poor dad, was a PhD. He had no entrepreneurial skills. His whole life was based around fear, the fear of failing. He needed job security. He could never make it as an entrepreneur. Never. Not with that spirit.
Can you change your spirit? That's my question.
Yes, of course you can. It's your choice of friends. Every day you're making that choice. So the thing that when I was still in the Marine Corps flying, I came back from Vietnam, went to a station in Hawaii for my last year. At that point, my poor dad, says to me, all your friends are going to fly for the airlines. So Hawaiian Airlines they needed pilots bad, not like today. But most of my friends got to fly for United. And so my poor dad says, why don't you fly for United? I said, something inside me said, that's too easy. I can already fly. I'd already had 1,000 hours of flying in combat. So to go fly a 747 is not that challenging to me. But she said, but you're making $500,000 a year. I said, that's chump change. You see, my expectations of self are a lot more than $500K a year. This is in the 70s and 80s. I said, I want a bigger challenge than that. Now, this is the interesting thing. I just finished my latest book, Who Stole My Pension? My friends who flew for United, their pension was stolen. Mm-hmm. So they're all hosed. But they chose security. They chose security. And what I did, instead of going to work for United, my rich dad, my best friend's father, says, you're not an entrepreneur. I said, why is that? He says, because you can't sell. You're too shy. And he was just giving me a hard evaluation. He said to me, my rich dad says, Robert, how's your sex life? I said, I don't know. I can't get a date. He says, because you can't sell. So he says, you can't handle rejection. You're not going to make it as an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs, there's 1,000 rejections to 1. And he says, you better go get rejected pretty quickly.
If you want 10 more amazing rules from Robert Kiyosaki, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
It's easy to say I can't afford it. All the poor people say I can't afford it. Rule number 1 in Rich Dad Poor Dad is the rich don't work for money. Most people miss that one.
I made a fortune in 2008.